Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in wherever you are. It's a global world we're living in. Hi, Fabian.
Hi, Kishin. Nice to see you again.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about um, nurturing a small beginning. Okay. So it's about our ability to, with our mindfulness and awareness, being able to immerse into an experience and in able to focus and sustain in that, and as a result make that experience big, right? So because during the day uh, we make a lot of small kind act, right? We spend time with somebody, we give an ear to somebody, we donate to somebody, we help somebody out, and in that small kind act we feel this joy. It's a nice feeling to help another person in need, um, but it'll be wasted if that's all it is, right? Because it's a small drop, but we can make that drop big, right? And this is how you do it. We can at night, or in our time, use our memory to bring up that sensation, that feeling of joy. So again, pay attention to the wholesome feeling, right? Pay attention to how it feels in the body, our mind, and bring those up. And when we feel that joy, there's two things we can do, right? One is to totally jump into it, like you jump into a swimming pool, right? It's like that, but it's not a swimming pool. This joy is quite small, so we need to be able to jump into it. But when we jump into it, the quality of jumping into it is we leave our sense of self behind, right? And the experience is just the experience in that moment. So the ability to just let everything go, including ourself, like our knowing, our awareness, and just let the experience come to the fore and immerse and just be of itself, right? Do you know what I mean? We all have a lot of moments like that where we can let go of ourselves totally and just give into the experience. So we need to be able to do that with the wholesome quality, with the small joy, right? So that's one technique of making something small. Another technique is we bring up that feeling, and with our mind, we send it out to the universe. We expand our mind, we reach it out to the infinite space, and we want all the beings in the universe. Imagine all that stars, or like imagine billions of people in one of that star, or the planet around that star. Then it's a lot and a lot of being, right? It's like phenomenal. And imagine all those beings feel what you feel now, right? So that is how you, because the what we are doing there is like this. Our consciousness, our mind consciousness, its nature is big, it's boundless. And the wholesome quality feeling, the mind, the four viharas, joy, the happiness, the empathy, the compassion, the equanimity, they are also boundless. They are also interconnected oneness. So when we give, when we do, well, we use imagination, but in that imagination we give our consciousness and our feeling the permission to go, to just be, its nature. And then it will go, and then you all of a sudden feel this huge burst of joy. It's like, yeah. So that is the two method that I use to practice. But I would use more and more of the immersing one, the one that shed, letting go of yourself, letting go of everything, and just let the experience be the experience.
Hmm.
So that's
So
how you, yeah, that's how we make something small big. Magic.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting because I do think that probably everybody does that to a certain extent every day, but like maybe with the wrong feelings, right? So as we are trained in whatever culture we've grown up or whatever civilization or background or social background we have, we get sort of trained and conditioned in a certain way to see things. Like for instance, here in Germany, it's the case that um, I don't want to talk it bad or down. It's just my feeling of it. It's a very it's a more or less fault finding culture. So in a lot of things which are not going the right way, that's a big drama. So it's actually a small things not going right, and then people sort of make it huge and big and drama. So there we see it already, right? So and
Very interesting that you brought that up, because negative feelings or unwholesome feeling can't get big. It can get big in terms of feeding in our thoughts and become emotion. So we suffer. But in terms of the expansiveness of consciousness and the expansiveness of joy, those kind of negativity, its nature is small. Its nature is transient. It's can't be. It's not like the vihara. It's not like the wholesome qualities where it is connected and boundless.
yeah, because self is in there, isn't it? Because the self is small, right? The self, the world of the self is like very small actually, and then the feeling or the bad emotion is just covering that small self. And then what you're talking about is selfless, to which everyone the same sort of great feeling and joy and happiness is actually, you put the self aside, it's squeezed out by that feeling, it's pushed out, and then
Mm,
you surround the whole world
yeah.
with it.
Well, yeah, to some extent, but it is not selfless, because the sense of self is always there until the end, like, until the moment you are nibbana.
Right.
But definitely we would feel connected, we would feel wholeness, we would feel expansion. And yes, the sense of self is way smaller, versus the other qualities where our sense of self is very focused and very centered. It's very um, in and of itself. That's why the quality is in and of itself. It's tiny. It's yeah.
So say if a person would have done uh yeah, so a good deed, even though it was like 10 years ago, so the person could still well, of course, it has something to do with memory and the ability to remember, right? Which some people might not have the blessing, to call it this ability for themselves. But if people can remember something like 10 years ago, so that could be used as an initial object. So yeah, yeah, I do agree that it is very, very important. Also, which you have mentioned, in order to actually attain deep concentration of states, and actually also the meditative absorptions, as we call jhana in Buddhism. And so you say that it is basically a thing we should do every day to sort of bring up the small or good deeds we have done or good words we have spoken, um, to just to bring it to our awareness, and then use one of those two methods you just described.
Definitely. If we can practice that, then it's awesome, because um, it's about gratefulness, right? It's about finding, it's about training, reconditioning the mind to focus and find positive in everything, even something that is happened to us which we perceive as suffering and we perceive as negative. It's just that, just don't be too definitive, because later on we realize, wow, we need this experience for us to grow. So while we are going through it, it might be really tough, but at some point we're able to stand back in a different perspective and see that this is a blessing, because it's enabled us to learn something, have an insight, able to shift our perception, and able to progress and grow and develop.
Yes, totally. So yeah, it is going to enrich our whole life actually, if we could do that in the morning, or maybe even throughout the day in our working break, or like in the end of the day. Maybe in the end of the day it might even be easier, because you see what you have done and have spoken and have helped with, and then you can sort of use that as an initial, so you could do that as a like entire meditation object, or do you use that also just to access the start, or as a beginning, and then you do whatever meditation with that space of joy you're having?
Well, okay, we have to be very clear that what the memory is the tool. Okay, we use that tool, and the purpose of using memory is to arouse the feeling. It is not the memory of itself, and we can get stuck in the memory and then go into association and reliving the past and blah blah blah. We don't want that. We need to know why we are using this tool and what's the purpose, and that is to arouse this wholesome quality. So pick an experience that quite neutral, that's not going to trigger us and bring up the joy feeling. It could be an inspiration, it could be your teacher, it could be something like that, and doesn't matter who or what, it allows you to bring up the wholesome quality, and then we let that tool go. We drop that tool because we need that for that purpose, and we drop it and we focus just on the feeling. So again, going back into the techniques of immersing yourself, being able to focus and sustain and let everything else go, and see where that wholesome feeling lead, right? It can only lead to more wholesomeness. Um, and that's how we progress through our jhana. right?
Mhm.
So once we are in a okay, even before we go into jhana, we would have spaces of peace, moments of contentment, and we need to be able to grab those, right? Grab that state of mind and just jump into it and just luxurious in it, like you be in the bath, and just immerse yourself and be happy, be contented, and just accept that moment. That moment is enough. That moment is okay and it's enough. You don't want anything else anymore because you're so content, you're so peaceful, right? And just stay there. Why do we need all these jhana experience? La 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 la, you know, whatever that is wholesome in that moment, that is given to us, or we are in it. It's just a blessing, right? It's just so be grateful, right? It is enough. And once we have this ability to be enough, like be content with simplicity and don't want to go anywhere else, then it will just progress, right? The mind would find joy in contentment, and it will start the process.
Yes. So would you also encourage the audience like to so everyone has probably done good deeds in their lives. So for instance, you're jumping in a train and the door is about to close, and then you're holding it open for a person to also enter the train. That's a simple one, but you can do that with like several intentions, right? You could do that like because you got raised this way, because you don't want other people to think bad of you, or you could do that because yeah, you would hope that this person would do it for you too, and you could do it just because you're kind, but you could also do it like because you want that person to be happy, right? You could do it with a smile, like with a big smile. So would you encourage people to, like, whatever good deed they do, like give 100% into it so that it makes this feeling stronger? Or would you encourage a certain intention to apply to that?
Okay, now what I'm hearing there is belief system that being taught and conditioned in us to condition our intention, right? And again, we have to have this attitude that beliefs and programs or ideas or perception that we have is being taught to us, and we need to shift through them if they don't serve our purpose, to make us a happier person, to make us a peaceful person, a kinder person, then we need to tease those programs and let them go, bin it, delete them, and just keep the perception that is beneficial to us. So in that case of opening the door, then which one would give you joy, most joy? Which one would give you the feeling of happiness, right? Is it to, you can go through that, but, in this moment, I am connecting with another human being. In this moment, I am helping this being. And in this moment, I have this precious opportunity to do something beneficial for another being. So that is, if you can't shift your perception, this is where it's good to have a teacher or a friend who is able to have a positive, and you can brainstorm and explore different perception, and then take the one that would give you most joy and stick to that
Yeah.
and practice that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's right. And maybe sometimes a little bit of imagination or a little bit of fantasy is maybe helpful there too, because you see this person and then you just sometimes creating a story can be actually nice, you know, and you think, well, that person is maybe trying to save other person's life. So just you do everything you can in order to help that person get to this train. And you know, so maybe so maybe you need that sort of motivation or inspiration, which is creative.
I would be very careful with imagination. I would be very careful with creating a different reality, because this whole journey is about being in the present, being able to accept the present moment and be real.
Mm.
Yes, if you know that would create, you know, would help you, then realize what it is that you are doing, that you are using this tool for this purpose, and it once it's achieved that purpose, then you drop it, so you don't go and mix up with all the tools and get a bit messy with your realities. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I know what you mean. Yeah, but that's totally, yeah. So you do that in totality, right? So you help in totality and you train. This is actually a training and taming of the mind to do something kind and also to benefit from your kindness you're giving other beings, right? So because I remember my earliest stages where I wasn't really able to feel gratitude, right? And also I was more or less trained or tamed and conditioned to see more the negative things than the positive. So whatever positive things people told me or gave me a compliment or like encouraging me or whatever, I could not see that. So that's actually a very crucial point. That this is a training, right? So this is a training method that it takes time, it takes practice, it takes patience, it takes endurance. And yeah, so I think that's important to mention, that you can train to even be more into it, that to intensify that feeling, to make it bigger, and as you say, like with the small bathtub becoming an ocean of greatness and joy and happiness you're diving
Yeah.
into.
Yeah, so we have this attitude that we train and practice every moment of our life. It isn't just restricted to time on the cushion, right? So we 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 get up in the morning, we 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 walk through the door. What is the relationship between us and the door? Is it one of gentleness and kindness, or is it one of dominance and control and hardship? Um, and then you walk on the floor, you know, you are in touch with earth, you're in touch with this planet. What is your relationship with it?
Mhm.
Um, so so um, trying to see all this practice and development as every single moment that is our life, our conscious life, and we want to live every moment of it consciously, and we don't want to waste any of it into fantasy, into our mind. We want to be here, we want to feel,
Mhm.
and that's include pain, because that's part of living, that's part of being alive, that's, you know, that the reality of this really wonderful present moment. um, so what is our relationship to it? We have to question that. um, and is it one of resistance? Why are we resisting? So this is all the things that's mm, yeah, I see people restrict their practice to only uh, on the cushion or in mantra or burning incense or going to the temple, or even if restrict to like just one small act, but it's your whole attitude, right? Your whole attitude, your whole mood, your whole perception of your whole, the way you carry yourself in this flow of life, in contact with everything, the animal, the plants, the earth, the people, and yourself.
Yes, that's totally right, and it reminds me on, the times I stayed in monasteries, and you have this 8 precepts or this 8 ethical rules you're abiding on, and you basically live in. That's your frame you're living in, and one is that your last meal is at like 11ish o'clock, right? So and then you're very hungry, and then I in the beginning I see myself eating with greed, and because I'm hungry I need to eat that food, and I want to have everything right. So so that's the beginning, and then throughout the practice and keeping these ethical rules, you get more conscious about what is actually happening, what is food in itself actually. um, and it's not something you own or that belongs to you, and you have the right to eat it. So you totally abandon those thoughts in time, and then I realized for myself, I see, like, for instance, a salad, just a simple salad, and I eat that, and then I had such a glowing heart towards that salad, right? So because I just seen an elderly woman bringing this salad and to the offering. So and she's in her old age, she's still doing good deeds, so in order for the monks and all the lay people to profit from that. And then my thoughts even go further, and thanking the sun for shining in order for the salad to grow, thanking the earth which is nurtured, and then all the water which came down, and all the people who sort of cut the salad from the acres, from the field, and then the transportation towards it. So you see the whole process of that food actually coming in your bowl in order you can eat that, and you can do it with every single vegetable, and of course even meat if you eat meat. And then you see that there's a being having giving its life in order for you to stay alive. So that's like you're getting humble, right? And your perception totally changes towards an wholesome one.
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's very useful and very important. Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned the elements, right? So walking like I find the idea is really beautiful. Like you walk the floor, and then you know you connect with the floor. Like you're not connecting as it would be a person, but you connect with the earth element, with sort of Mother Earth. So you walk in on her back, so to speak, right? And I
Mm.
mean, it's with everything you can do, even with work. So I had a funny guy once in a monastery, and we do some chores like raking the lawn, freeing it from the leaves. And he's all of a sudden smiling and laughing. I'm like, what's happening? And he's going, well, I just imagine a funny thing. I'm like, what? He said, well, don't call me crazy, but I'm thinking right now I'm scratching Mother Earth's back. I lost it, It caught me off guard. I was just like, I was laughing hard off. But it was so beautiful. Since then, every time I'm grooming or I'm scratching Mother Earth's back, and I found it so nice. Yeah, so you can do it
Yeah.
with everything.
Yeah, yeah. So this we that is why it's so hard in the first 20 years, because we have to shift our beliefs, perception, and we have to update anything that is old, and we have to let go a lot, and forgiving is part of that process, and learning our mindfulness to focus and to sustain and to totally let our sense of self go and just let the experience happen, and in and of itself. And so that's, you can see like how mammoth effort that is, right? That's why it's so wonderful to see, and that's why we are doing this to help those people, to, you know, giving lots of hints and tips, and you know, so everybody in the world are able to benefit, because it's such a hard journey to question ourselves, to even face ourselves, question, and to update ourselves. It's a big process, and to have a clear vision of what is tools and not get all mixed up. And the importance of feeling, especially wholesome one, it's know what quality to let it starve and what quality to grow from small beginning, nurture it and grow it. So that is what it's all about, nurturing something small.
Yes, that's right. And it actually can begin in small or young age, so to speak, right?
Oh, that
So
would be awesome.
yeah, and actually sometimes I do have the feeling that even as I'm working with children, and then I feel that children have this ability way more than adult people, because adult people being in their head, forgetting about all this sort of feeling base, that they're just in worries and in planning and in future and in whatever, in doubts and mortgage and all that kind of stuff. But children, they are free from that. Of course, like things like anger about small things, they can grow real big, like fireballs running through a forest and setting everything on fire. But it can also be in a sense that, you know, like a person having getting a child once in class got an A, and you know, the other child, it had a C, right? So and then I seen very something beautiful, almost giving me tears, like that person having or that child having a C, was being so happy with the girl having an A, that it jumped and like, I'm so happy for you, and great.
Aw.
And you know, and at first it was sad about the C, but then it looked at the girl and had an A, and you see how happy she was, and he was happy then too, and that's what I mean. So yeah, you sometimes you feel it in young age too already, and
Yeah,
it's yeah. So
that technique is very awesome if you're able to develop, you know. I'm call it like serving, you know, you serve other, you know, like whatever wave that is available, you serve that. So
yeah.
if there is a joy in another person, jump onto that wave and serve it, you know, make the best of it. And the way to make best of it is to feel the joy, for that person. Just celebrate for that person, and you it's like free, right? You don't have,
It's for free, yeah.
yeah, you don't have to do anything. It's just like the joy is there in another person, and we just kind of like piggyback piggyback on that,
Yeah.
on that wave, and just serve it with them. So that's just
Yeah.
like awesome techniques.
So yeah, I mean, you can be inventive, like once you know what's actually, what is it about, to develop your heart, to develop your mind, what is about the spiritual path, you can then be inventive for yourself and see how you sort of accelerate the process, speed up the process, and where you can actually profit from in your daily life in whatever situation you're in. And as we say, especially in the informal practice, which is not happening on the cushion, but in daily life, yeah, which demands most of our time anyways. So yeah, I think that's been a beautiful talk. Very funny, very uplifting, and yeah, I hope some person will profit from that, as we've been talking about the sort of Brahma Viharas, right? This is what the Buddha said about the Four Noble Emotions. I think the only one we did not really cover was Upekkha, right? The equanimity of mind. But we covered loving kindness, which is metta. We covered compassion, which is karuna, and we covered altruistic joy, which is the one for free. And yeah, so yeah, thank you very much. It's been nice talking to you again.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, everybody. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.